Hello, Stephen here once again, and welcome to the second part of the presentation on financial pitfalls. In the previous presentation, we looked at running out of cash and overtrading. There are three other pitfalls to be looked at, so let's take it away. The next pitfall we're looking at is not knowing your numbers. I think in any business, it's very important that you know your numbers. But what do we mean by knowing your numbers? So, yeah, as you can see here, the guy is scratching his head because, of perhaps not understanding the numbers. And below there, you can see a statement credited to Bill Gates, who is no stranger to us. Know your numbers is a fundamental precept of business. Very, very important that you know your numbers. Or here is a series of numbers that you should be familiar with. Sales. Know what your sales are, know the value of your sales, know how much you're selling, know who you're selling to, and know what discounts you're giving them, know what price you're selling at. So everything about your sales you should know. Expenses, similarly. Um, Expenses, well, we covered some of the expenses earlier. Admin, employment, marketing and distribution. So be familiar with what these expenses are. Profit. Your profit, of course, is the net of your sales and expenses. Income less expenses equal profits. Basic stuff, you understand that. Assets, know what assets you have in your business. Assets are those pieces of equipment or items which bring value. It's important that you know those assets, know where they are, know the kind of contribution they bring in, know the state it is in. It doesn't make sense having a vehicle and it's not functioning. So ensure that whatever assets you have is functioning because assets are there to bring value to your business. Liabilities, on the other hand, would be those which those are what you owe to people or owe to whatever organizations. Very important that you know who you owe, what you owe, when you have to pay them. Debtors, of course, are the people who owe you. Very, very important. That's something you should never forget in business. Know who owe you, know when it's due, know when to collect. Take whatever steps you have to take to go there and collect it. Creditors and liabilities pretty much the same thing. I think liabilities is more of a long-term nature. Creditors, on the other hand, has to do with trading and then net cash. As you recall in the cash flow slide, we talked about net cash, inflows minus outflows. And hopefully when you know these numbers, you'll be moving from a state to scratching your head to there you are, thumbs up. Yeah, man, we got it going. All right, so it's very important know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, you are going to be in a serious pitfall. The next pitfall we're looking at is lack of market presence. Now, this is a pretty interesting one because there's no way you should be in business and people don't know about it. So you need to make sure that people know that you exist. And there are so many ways in which you can do so. I think chief among them being advertising, marketing, and promotions. There are so many ways in which this can be done, but you need to work out which media you're going to use and the scale which you're going to apply in the respective media because this can be a very significant expense and needs careful consideration. So while lack of a market presence can be a pitfall, you also need to recognize that by establishing a presence comes at a significant cost as well. So you need to strike a balance between the media you're going to use and the scale of each media you're going to apply. The media, so we can look at the print media, for example, which newspapers and magazines and so on. That depends on the kind of products you'll be having. You can look at the electronic and digital media. Yes, radio does still exist. Television still very much there. The World Wide Web, which is very, very Now it is very topical in the current business environment. So you need to consider that. And then, of course, the big one, social media, with all the various social media applications out there. There is no reason why you can't put yourself out there. Social media, as you know, appeals to everyone. It used to be a young people thing. I don't think we can continue to describe it as a young people thing any longer. It Everybody is on social media. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Twitter. So, and then the thing with social media is that it's not an expensive venture as compared to if you're looking at print media, for example, print and electronic media. So you can simply create an ad, put it up on Facebook, and there you go. No cost to you. If you want to boost and so on, then that's where the cost comes in. So you need to look at how you can make good use of whatever media is available to you at the cheapest cost. And then another way in which you can establish a market presence is by networking. There are so many networking opportunities out there. There, like for example, the Chamber of Commerce. If you're not a member of the Chamber of Commerce, you can perhaps join the Chamber of Commerce, and some of that comes at a cost. But then, of course, there are other networking that does not come at a cost. If you find and you find so many networking opportunities are there. Again, using social media, um, you can establish a presence by joining those groups free of cost on social media. So networking is another manner in which you can establish market presence. So do not, whatever you do, do not allow the lack of a market presence to be a financial pitfall for you. Always, because I mean, the thing is, there are so many opportunities out there for you to establish a presence at little or no cost to you. Let people know that you exist. Let people see you existing. Let see people see what business you're doing, know where to find you. All right. So establish that presence. Okay. The final pitfall we're going to be looking at is what I describe as render unto Caesar. And for those of you who are familiar with things biblical, you will recall a quotation. I can't quote it, quote it, but I'll just paraphrase it perhaps. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar, and render to God what is God's. In other words, Caesar demands from you whatever he demands from you, and you need to give that to him. And in this case, Caesar at that time was the government. Now, what does the government demand from us? Taxes. There are only two things that are certain in life: death and taxes. Now, as an entrepreneur, as a business person, we are so caught up. We have a tendency to be caught up in our enterprise, caught up in doing, executing, selling, discharging, and so on. Some of us, we fail to remember that aspect of the business, and that's a critical one. Because trust me, the government is not going to forget about you. They'll be seeing you. If once you establish a market presence, the tax person, the tax man is there for that purpose. They are going to come and get you at some point in time. So it's very important that you, in all that you do, you take some time out to plan for taxes. Know what taxes um, will you will attract. Know what taxes will become due to you or due from you as a result of your business operation. For example, your income taxes, your property taxes, your VAT, value added taxes. So always remember that those are areas which you have to be very, very careful about, because if you fail to honor your tax obligations, it can come at a significant cost to you. So, very important, plan for them, um, look out for them, get assistance if you are unable to work out what the tax obligations are. I'm sure there are entities out there that can assist in providing you with that kind of information. or they actually offer those kinds of services as well, so that you don't find yourself in this pitfall of being liable for taxes. That's an unnecessary pitfall that you should be finding yourselves into. In the event that you are unable to meet your obligations, there's no harm in reaching out to the tax authorities. Reach out to them, work out tax payment plans with them. I think they are, in as much as they want to get the money from you right away, they recognize the limitations that you may be under and can negotiate with you. Alternatively, you can approach the banks. Banks, once again, for funding to take care of your tax liabilities. That itself brings some level of obligation, but it's a pitfall that you must plan for. Never forget what is due unto Caesar. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. All right, that brings us to the end of the presentation. Okay, so just a quick recap on the pitfalls. We looked at running out of cash, not knowing your numbers, overtrading, lack of market presence, and then render unto Caesar. This has been a pretty lengthy presentation. Try as we may to keep it short, we still ended up having quite a pretty lengthy one. Um, but hopefully you found it informative and can be applicable in your business. All right. So thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in the following presentation. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you can be notified when future releases are being made. Thanks once again. Bye bye.